Eagle 95.1, WUPN, Paradise, Sault Ste. Marie.
It's time for The Game. Eagle 95.1 proudly brings you The Game, the Twin Sault's only regional and national sports show. For the next hour, we'll get an in-depth look at sports in the Eastern Upper Peninsula and Algoma region. The Game on Eagle 95.1.
Sports Show would like to thank an additional home to the Game Sports Show, Canadian franchise Boston Pizza. Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie, located on 601 Great Northern Road, Sault Ste. Marie. Come in and join Boston Pizza for its numerous specials that are offered. After 9 p.m. daily, come in to Boston Pizza for $9 schooners, $4 rail drinks, and delicious food. Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie, you're among friends.
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Game Sports Show. Thursday, January the 18th, live on location here at Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, located on Great Northern Road. And it's yours truly, David McCaig, bringing you another edition of the Game Sports Show, the third show at Boston Pizza here, and the third show of 2018. And the Thursday show where we talk all local and professional hockey, and also where we talk baseball. But, you know, we're not in the baseball season yet. When we look out the window, I still see some snow, and it is still a full flight in hockey season here in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, and in the professional hockey. So that is what we're talking about tonight, as we always do. Tonight we got a good agenda as always. But before we get into what the agenda is of the show, I got to give a shout out to all of our sponsors on the Game Sports Show. We obviously have Boston Pizza here in Sault Ste. Marie. We have Sports Center Bar and Grill. Discover the Canvas. We have the Stu Pee Wee Pro Shop. We have North Shore Sports and Auto and the Salon here in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. And we also have some Sioux Michigan sponsors, obviously, the Wicked Sister and Pingator Cleaners, and we'd like to thank all the sponsors for being a part of the show. Got to give a shout out to the usual board operator tonight, Scott Notorious Nason, and I got to give a shout out here to Aaron Grisdak and the crew at Boston Pizza for being a part of the Game Sports Show, newly on the show this year in 2018, and do we ever have quite the action-packed 2018 planned here, especially at Boston Pizza. But to get into our show tonight, it's just going to be myself talking until the break, where we're going to bring in a special guest, the assistant general manager, the new assistant general manager of the Sioux Thunderbirds, Joey Miller. And then after that interview, it'll just be myself and Justin Hykel tonight, as Dane Hanshrow has taken a sick day from the Game Sports Show today. So just be myself and Justin talking Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, following some NHL talk as well, and talking about those Toronto Maple Leafs blowing those third periods. God, it's almost reminding me of that Game 7 in Boston. Not quite, but blowing some of those third period leads. We're definitely going to talk about that when it comes to the Leafs and other NHL news as well, including Andrew Cogliano's 800-game Ironman streak coming to an end. And who leads that right now? We'll lead into that answer later on in the show as well. As I mentioned, we're here live at Boston Pizza. Just to give everyone a reminder before we take our break and bring in Joey Miller for our first guest of the show, on Mondays, 6 p.m., until 7 p.m. will be live on 95.1, with 7 to 8 being pre-recorded, then posted on our podcast page, which is snason.podomatic.com, and it's also going to be posted on our website, www.thegamesportshow.com. And then on Mondays, we're talking all local sports as well, and then in the second hour, we're going to be talking about professional sports of variety, NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL, you name it, especially when it comes to Butch Davis coming on talking the Detroit sports as well from the Michigan side. On Wednesdays, we are still at Sports Center Bar and Grill, as myself, Justin, Dane, Jamie Antonello, Dustin Grondin, and the crew will be having the In the Pocket segment all the way up until the end of the NFL season. And wow, what an NFL playoffs we've had thus far. Some big games and some disappointments as well, especially if you're coming from myself being a Steeler fan. So Wednesdays will be there at the usual time, be at 9:30 p.m. where we record for an hour, having In the Pocket. And when the NFL season's done, we're going to be talking NBA, we're going to be talking wrestling, we're going to be talking a little bit of golf as well, and also some local sports as well into there for the Wednesday show. As I mentioned, Thursdays we're here live at Boston Pizza where we record at 9:30 p.m. for an hour talking local hockey and professional hockey. And in the summer, we're going to be talking baseball. Be myself, Dane, and Justin will be the main three, along with many special guests, along with more of the game's hosts and co-hosts and analysts, because we have a wide crew, and we also hope to have Scott Nason over here a lot more throughout the year as well. And for this Thursday show, give you some news to feed on here, alongside Joy Miller being our first official live guest on location. We have many more guests slotted in for this year. We plan to get some Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds guests on in the very near future, and we have confirmed that Tyler Kennedy will be coming on by, former NHL player for the Pittsburgh Penguins, New Jersey Devils, San Jose Sharks, and New York Islanders. And must note where he won a Stanley Cup with the Pittsburgh Penguins, getting the clutch goal in Game 6 to force on to a Game 7 against the Detroit Red Wings. Tyler Kennedy will be on, and we're planning for that to be in probably February. Still getting the date cemented, but it is in the very near future as well. And also, Paul Maurice, who's going to be hopefully joining the show in the Olympic break, is the tentative date. As we all know, the NHL teams are not in the Olympic break, but there is some break time in there for the Winnipeg Jets and some NHL action, because that's going to be around the All-Star break, obviously, where Paul Maurice, where I feel, should have been, but he unfortunately is not. But he will have the time to come on by to the Game Sports Show and put his knowledge. And we have many more guests slot in. We have Colin Miller later on this year, Brandon Brooks, also planning with Marty Turco as well to stop on in. So we have lots of plans, but in the very near future, got to pencil in Tyler Kennedy, Paul Maurice, and of course, those Sault Ste. Marie Greyhound guests that I'm looking forward to have on in the very near future for the remainder of their year, as the fans and listeners would love to hear from them as well. So this show has a lot of plans going on. And you know what? If you want to listen to some previous shows, you can go on the snason.podomatic.com page. You can listen to all the old shows, especially when we had Joe Bowen, who also will be returning as a guest this year, who is a listener of the show as well and isn't really a stranger to the show, so it'll be very good to have him on as well. But if you want to listen to all the older episodes, even with other episodes with Butch Davis and Scott Nason and the Jim Leland interview, there's a lot of access on that snason.podomatic.com page. We are going to update all those old shows onto the website. The website is still under construction, and we do plan to have it done by, the hopeful was the end of this week, but there is a little bit of delay. It is going to be by the end of January. We want to make sure it's perfected so it's easily accessible for the listeners, so they get caught up with all the older shows and also the new shows and the future plans for shows as well. You're going to have a tab for the Monday show, you're going to have a tab for the Wednesday show, and you're going to have a tab for this show on Thursdays at Boston Pizza, and you're also going to have a tab for Butch Davis's show, for Butch on Sports. So there's going to be a lot of access to get caught up with previous shows on the Michigan side and news on the Michigan side, and same for Canada, getting caught up with the Canada side and all the updates on the Canada side leading up to all the current shows as well. We're also going to be introducing, and make sure you take note of this, and with the partnership of Boston Pizza, we are going to have trivias. I said last week that I would notify the listeners of this going into this week. We are going to have a trivia. Now, this trivia might be during the show, or it might start next week. I guess you're going to have to continue to listen on to the show for when myself and Justin are on. We're going to have a question, and if you get the answer right, we have a gift certificate that we're going to be giving away courtesy of Boston Pizza, and we're going to have many prizes throughout the year in terms of the Game Sports Show merchandise and maybe some other merchandise of teams locally, maybe professionally, and perhaps maybe we'll even have some local team tickets available to give out as prizes as well. So make sure when you're listening to the show that you get the question that we asked down and you send us the answer and the information that we provide to you here on the show. You can win a free gift certificate and a free night out for yourself and a significant other, or just yourself, or for yourself and your buddies. And what better place than to come on by to Boston Pizza? Or if it isn't the gift certificate, you get the merchandise. What better way than to represent a professional team, a local team with their merchandise, or even the Game Sports Show merchandise? There's lots of good stuff going on with the show. There was a lot of information that I wanted to pack in this first 8 to 10 minutes of the show. just so you can all write that down. And if you have any questions, I know I've been receiving a lot of messages in terms of the 3 shows and what is going on. Please don't hesitate to get a hold of me personally on Facebook, David McCaig Jr. Tweet me on Twitter at DavidJR or if you have my cell phone number, do not hesitate to give me a call as well. I don't mind answering. And to say in summary, Monday, 6 to 7 live on 95.1, 7 to 8 pre-recorded, or 6 to 7 we talk local sports. And for the final hour, we talk professional sports on Soo, Michigan at the Wicked Sister. And then moving on to Wednesday at Sports Center Bar and Grill, it's In the Pocket, it's NBA, it is tennis, it is wrestling, and that's at 9:30 p.m. that we pre-record that, and we'll post on the snation.potomac.com page and the website. And then, as I've said twice already for this Thursday, every Thursday at Boston Pizza, we'll have a show recorded at 9:30 till 10:30 talking local and professional hockey and talking local and professional baseball. And when you come in here to Boston Pizza from when we're recording, you have half off rail shots here at Boston Pizza, and we also have half price appetizers. So it's deals when you're in here and when you're around when the Game Sports Show on. So lots to grasp in there, lots of information to grasp. So you got some half price apps, you got some drink specials, and you're gonna have some trivia during the Game Sports Show as well. So hey, if you're live on location, maybe you can get the answer right away, or when we give the right time, maybe you're going to be here and you're already going to have the answer to provide to us. Make sure that when we give you the instructions before giving the questions or question, make sure you write that down, question or questions, that you respond to us following the right instructions so we can give the correct prize to the right winner. So it's Dave McCaig here live at Boston Pizza, where for the introduction of the show, as I said, it's just be me, myself, and I. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're bringing in the first official guest live on location here on the Game Sports Show from Boston Pizza, Joey Miller, the assistant GM of the Sioux Thunderbirds. And then following that, we're going to have myself and Justin Hykel, because Dana's taking a sick day, may I remind you, myself and Justin talking Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds and talking the NHL as well. So we're going to be right back after these messages. Like I said, when we come back, the official first guest, live on location at Boston Pizza, the assistant GM of the Sioux Thunderbirds, Joey Miller, will be joining us. Be right back here on the Game Sports Show.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank an additional home to the Game Sports Show, Canadian franchise Boston Pizza. Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie, located on 601 Great Northern Road, Sault Ste. Marie. Come in and join Boston Pizza for its numerous specials that are offered. After 9 p.m. daily, come in to Boston Pizza for $9 schooners, $4 rail drinks, and delicious food. Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie, you're among friends.
The Wicked Sister, Soo, Michigan. Check TripAdvisor, ranked right towards the top. Awarded the Certificate of Excellence, as well as voted #1 pub in the UP. The Wicked Sister has managed to create a casual menu that offers unique, creative, and sometimes healthy offerings that rivals menu selections of any big city. Burgers and starters, snacks and shareable, soups and salads, sandwiches and tapas. On Ashman Street, Soo, Michigan. Welcome to the Wicked Sister, where you'll be treated like family, whether you like it or not.
And welcome back to the Game Sports Show. It's yours truly, David McCaig, alongside a very special guest and good friend of mine, Joey Miller. Joey Miller, you are the first official live guest at Boston Pizza for the Game Sports Show, along with a big list that's coming up that I've already kind of discussed with the introduction. But welcome.
Well, thanks, Kegger. It's about time you asked me.
I like that. You know, we've been bugging you for the past few weeks. The schedule's been going back and forth. You had games and whatnot, and I'm glad that we're here now enjoying some nice Molson products here at Boston Pizza. And we're going to be talking about yourself. We're going to be talking about the Sioux Thunderbirds and what you currently do with that team. And if people don't know what Joey Miller does with the Sioux Thunderbirds, well, he must have been living under a rock, because he is the new-ish assistant GM of the Sioux Thunderbirds. And Joey, you know what? We're going to start off here with just a basic conversation. First, I want to ask, how are you? How have you been? And talk about the current role and the new role that you've been having with the assistant GM of the Thunderbirds.
Yeah, Kegger, I've been good. It's really fun. My new position with the Sioux Thunderbirds. I help out with mostly everything, like all the trades that came in this year, all the paperwork, all that fun stuff. So, yeah, it's really fun. It's a lot different from playing, but I'm really excited about it.
Being a GM or even being into the coach and you play on the staff side, it's much different than being a player. Could say, on my perspective, being a coach in good old Blind River, fresh out of playing. But what really gets me excited about being GM, okay, and you can probably attest to this maybe with seeing video games. I love playing franchise modes in video games. I love being the GM and making all these ludicrous trades. You gotta tell me how it feels. Obviously, I know you can't speak in details, but how it feels to be behind the scenes, like making those trades, making those calls. I know the trade deadline just came and passed. You made some acquisitions, bringing in King and Spencer Van Tam and all that, and you were a big part being behind all that. So how does it feel being like a GM and being behind that, and how have you adapted doing that opposed to playing?
Yeah, at first I didn't know what to expect. Realistically, it's the same thing as GM mode on NHL. Like, I love it. It's so fun. And it's very interesting talking to all these other GMs in the league, but I give them credit. They're very nice to me because I'm new. I had a lot of help with our head coach, John Parco. Darren Smeal's been helping me, Trevor Zachary with everything, and I'm just really happy about getting this position.
Yeah, it's very exciting. When I heard the news, I was doing jumping jacks for you. I was excited for you, and I even got the thing on Snapchat. You sent a little Snapchat out saying it was pretty awesome for that. I know I was talking to somebody in particular about your new role, a good friend of ours, co-worker of mine, relative to yourself, good old Anthony Miller, who we know is definitely tuning in right now. We were talking about it, though, in all seriousness. You're something deserved and something that you do very well at, so congratulations with it. You kind of said what you do behind the scenes with it. What about the adjustment side, being a GM opposed to playing? Has it been kind of a hard adjustment, or has it been good transition where you haven't really noticed any difficulty?
It's a total 360, because now I'm going to the rink thinking about different players. I'm not thinking about playing the game. Like, when I walk into the rink, I'm always thinking, like, how can I make this team better? And while I was playing, I'm like, okay, I'm just always focused for the game and all that fun stuff. So.
See, and the big thing is with the Sault Thunderbirds right now, you guys are first place in the West. You have 26 wins, 8 losses, 2 overtime losses, and 1 tie, something that we do not see too often. You have a total of 55 points. You're a total of 3 points ahead of the Blind River Beavers, but you do have 6 games in hand on Blind River, and you've clinched a playoff spot going forward. Your whole division except Espanola is the only team who has not clinched a playoff spot. And over in the East, you got Powassan with a 31-5-1-2 record, leading the way in the East, and the only team in the East thus far to clinch a playoff berth. So the season thus far, obviously, first place, you got 6 games in hand on the second place team, which looks like, you don't want to say it's a certainty that you get in first place or anything like that. You never know what's going to happen in the game of hockey, but you're just jumping in kind of new. But what's your outlook on the season thus far for them, and since you've been with the team?
Yeah, when I first came to the team, I knew we were young and we were fast, and I didn't know what to expect at first, because having such a young team, usually we don't have the success like we have. But everyone on the team has bought into JP, Toots's, and Dizzy's system, and it's paying out for us.
It definitely is. You got good leadership at that helm with Tootsie and coaching staff and everything. You even had a new logo this year, and everything just completely altered with the team. The big thing is with the Sault Thunderbirds, they have such a respectful organization, always been labeled to win. And obviously the expectation, you being a GM, is wins, and the goal is to win the championship at the end of the year and move on to the dud and so on and so forth. When you came in, did you have anything that you really wanted to pinpoint that needed to be improved right away? Did you want to make that drastic impact, or did you really analyze and take a step back and to see what needed, then address them with these acquisitions at the deadline, for example?
Yeah, I really just walked in there. I stepped back a little bit. I just wanted to see everything, like the first couple games, and really I just let JP do his system. When he wants something different, that's when he'll come to me and we'll start talking about everything. But realistically, in the dressing room and at the rink, that's JP's rink. If I see something different, I'll go up and I'll tell him. But in the end, JP makes that final decision about the team.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? It's good that you have somebody who's got your back with that. And Trevor Zachary, I got to give a shout out to that too. We're going to get to something there momentarily. I know that was a part of a ceremony that was quite amazing. We'll get to that more at the end of our point here to kind of discuss that. But yourself being a GM, we're going to go back to like more of the basic of the conversation here. Is this a goal that you want? Do you see yourself? Is this the endpoint, just working locally with the Thunderbirds, or do you have aspirations like a Kyle Dubas to go to the OHL, the NHL? I'm sure everyone has that dream, but obviously you must have goals to take in this position, or maybe just like being a part of the Soo Thunderbirds organization, something we're going to get through later. You have the most playoff game record with the Soo Thunderbirds. You have a record with the organization. What are your goals, though, all jokes aside, going forward in terms of being a GM?
Yeah, you never know what will happen. If I have the success, you never know who will become calling. If they come calling, like, for example, like a higher league or a different team or anything, like, yeah, 100% I would totally think about it. But right now, my time and effort and dedications with the Soo Thunderbirds, so let's not look ahead right now.
No, for sure. No, you know what? Being a GM of a very prominent NOJHL team is good. You got good future looking forward there with that. Now, the team already clinching. You know, this is more of a kind of a coach's question, but you can kind of attest to it being a general manager as well. What is the, you know, you've clinched a playoff spot. How do you keep the guys focused? You know, we've played the game. Coaches try different things. What does JP do in terms of keeping the guys focused each game and getting them to come out and work hard each game? Because I did watch, obviously, many games this year, and it's a very fast team out there, a very young team in comparison to teams that are usually in first place in the NOJHL. Obviously, the game has changed for the good, but what does the coaching staff do to get the players motivated each game, and what do they do when they prepare against opponents?
It all starts off in practice. It's practice how you play. We practice fast, we practice how we play, and JP always has the guys going every game and all that stuff. It's even like just being in the gym every day, always staying in shape, but it all starts off in practice. Absolutely.
You know, you got a good, nice new workout room that was now at the John Rhodes. Are there, when discussing with players and recruiting them for here, that's definitely a good point to bring in, that we have a gym, that we, being such a successful NOJHL organization. When you utilize that gym, do you use those on off days a lot or after practice? Is there a certain workout that you use that gym for? Or does JP kind of really manage that?
Yeah, that's JP's gym, so he kind of manages all that stuff. But if a guy is hurt or something, he'll go on the bike, just get her going, all that stuff. But in the end, that's JP's gym.
Yeah, for sure. Now, the trades. And go with the trades with King and with Spencer quickly. We know we've kind of tested on how it feels to be that GM and get the blood boiling and everything, get all excited. But what were your thoughts bringing in these two individuals that come play? Because my always aspect was on the coaching end was sometimes you don't want to mess with a good thing of the team in first, but when you add a defenseman, I always felt that's always good to add. But when you add a forward, sometimes that can change the chemistry in a locker room. So I'm sure that's something that you considered before making this deal. But what were your thoughts bringing these two players to your organization?
Yeah, this year, every time I talk about a player or I talk about someone to a player, the first thing I always ask is their attitude. I'm not going to bring in a guy who's going to have a bad attitude. He's going to be like let's call him a cancer in the dressing room. But when I heard about Spence and Kinger, that these two guys will come in and just fit perfectly with the team, so that was a check mark right there. Well, yeah, bringing those guys in, it's really big. Come playoff time, you never know what will happen. Playoffs is hard in this league. It's a 7-game series with everyone, and it's very tough because we don't know who's going to get hurt or who's going to step up, and that's mostly it. It's always good to have extra bodies because you never know about injuries.
No, for sure. And the thing is, you know, you moved your captain to the Blind River Beavers. You made some room to bring in King and bring in Spencer and move in the organization. To bring in players, obviously you thought of the success, and the goal is to win a championship at the end.
Yeah, it's mostly it. Like right now, our main goal is to win the season, but as if we clinched a playoff spot already. But playoff time, that's our main goal first, to win the playoffs and make it to the Dudley. Because I told the guys already, I've been at the Dudley 3 times in my career, and it's probably the best week of my hockey career. It's so fun. It's just you're there, just nonstop hockey. So I always tell the kids that, like, I'm experienced, I know how to get there, and I've been there. But when they come up and ask me about the Dudley, I just tell them stories, and it's the funnest time of hockey.
Absolutely. There's another thing that you actually have on me in my career as well. Never made a Dudley Hewitt appearance. Actually, this weekend, in terms of games now, you have home and home this weekend against the border rivals, Sioux Eagles. You also have a game Sunday against Espanola. So 3-game weekend, big weekend. What are your thoughts coming up at the game against the Border Battle? Always a good game between the Eagles, obviously with the Border Battle and everything, and playing at the Polar Stadium, which is a quite hostile environment to play at. What are your thoughts going into this weekend for the games?
Friday night we're across the river at the Puller, and I just want to say I think the Puller is one of the best junior rinks in the CJHL. Yeah. Like, just the fans there are crazy. Just like the atmosphere, like that's what you want in junior hockey. But yeah, looking forward to this weekend. We can't underestimate the Eagles or even Espanola, because we never know how the Eagles are going to play over there. Every team we play, they always play the best against us.
And you're a first place team, so everyone wants to really battle against you guys. And Espanola Sunday, never underestimate an opponent going into a game, but definitely a big weekend to get 3 wins would be the goal and to kind of solidify top in the Western Division for sure. You have an event coming up as well that we're going to kind of discuss here. It's at Center Ice, which is above the Pee-wee, the Soo Pee-wee, and the Pro Shop in particular being a sponsor of the show. So they'll shout out there to the Pee-wee. There's Center Ice, the bar above the Pee-wee, is you're having a Super Bowl party, February the 4th, all you can eat wings. What other information can you give about it?
Yeah, February 4th is the Super Bowl. $20 a ticket. If you guys would like to come at any T-Bird home games, you could ask any player or anyone on the staff for a ticket. And yeah, they're $20, and it's going to be a good time.
Absolutely. You know what? We're coming to the close in our interview here, so we're going to have a little bit of fun to end this little interview, okay? I got a couple funny questions for you before we get to the conversation. So my 2 funny questions I like asking my guests. If I go into your vehicle and look on your iPod, what's the last song that would have played?
It's actually not that funny. Eminem, what's that new song? I forget it. No Way Fast? Nowhere Fast?
Yes.
Yeah, Eminem's new album. It's the only music I've been listening to lately.
Been off the chart, especially Need Me. That song with Pink is a good tune. I got to give a shout out to you, Liking All the Stars with Kendrick Lamar. It's another good tune. The next question, do you miss playing hockey? I know it's kind of a silly question, but actually maybe isn't. Do you miss, I know you're around the game, but do you miss playing, or are you looking forward to the next chapter in your life?
Yes and yes. I 100% miss playing the game. I miss going to the rink every day at 2 o'clock with my cousin Anthony. Had to give him a shout out because I was going to hear it if I don't. But yeah, I do miss playing the game, but since always being around the rink, I enjoy it. Like, I love the game. I love everything about it. So it's very interesting being a GM because I can't go to the rink and like focus on the game, like getting ready to the game. I got to focus on the other things, but in the long run, I miss hockey and I love what I'm doing right now.
Absolutely. It's a good chapter that you're doing. And we all get older eventually. You know how it is playing some men's league hockey out there with the Nas Iceman out there when you're 26 like myself, coughing up along after the game with some Molson products in the water bottles. About the career side of yourself, you broke a record for the Sioux Thunderbirds that are mostly held by my good friend and good friend of ours, Jerry Patingolo. But you had the most playoff games. Now, another good friend of ours and your cousin, Anthony Miller, also has a record with the Sioux Thunderbirds as well. Now, we've discussed this. Now, having that record, you have had the most playoff games with the team. Your playoff career in terms of games, literally in 2 seasons, equals mine. When I played in the playoffs for a team, I couldn't play because of the death of a friend, but so I missed 1 playoff. The other one was not really long-lived with Blind River. The longest playoff run I had with the Sioux Thunderbirds, and we lost to the Eagles in the division championship. So Jake Patterson, Sioux Eagles, may I add, is how we lost that series. So having a record like that, it must feel good. I don't really have a record. I know there's jokes about the Algoma teams I've played for, but how does it feel to be a part of such a storybook organization having a record like that?
Yeah, I was lucky enough. Like every year I played in my junior career, that we had such a good team and good veterans, and come playoff time, it's always tough. So and we had the guys who bought into the system, and it worked out for us in the long run.
It certainly did. And I remember when I was with the Birds, you were a call-up. You and Zalewski. So you were there for a total of 5 seasons, that would be correct. I think it was 5 years you were with the Thunderbirds. And now you're a part as a GM of the team. you're definitely going to break the Ironman record for being a part of this organization for active games. Joey, you got home this weekend. I want to wish you luck in that. I want to say thank you for coming on by to talk to myself. And before we close up, I got to say awesome and kudos to yourself and the organization, Trevor Zachary, for organizing the Michael Doan ceremony. That was well thought out and was well put together, and Toots had great speech, and it was great to hear from Nancy and Mike Sr. and to have most of the guys out on that red carpet where we almost took a tumble, we're sitting holding hands. So definitely want to give you a shout out with that, and took a lot of planning. So I'll give you the floor with, how that all kind of came together, and kind of just to talk about that for a sec.
Yeah, it was a tragedy what happened to Donor, but Donor was a great player to this organization. He's a great goalie. I didn't really know him that well, but I heard he was such a great guy. Every time he came to the rink, such a good attitude towards the game, to the teammates. Always heard he was a team player. But yeah, doing stuff like that just shows the character of the Sault Thunderbirds.
Absolutely, and you know what? That was fantastic, and I got the video actually saved, as we all do. Donor, who was a teammate of mine for over 5 years and a friend, was definitely the best goalie that I've ever played with and have known, and one of the best to come out of the Sault Ste. Marie realm for sure. So, Joy, I want to say thanks for coming on by. We'll try to get you on a bit more before you move on to the playoffs and hopefully beyond. So, thanks for stopping on by to Boston Pizza here.
Oh, thanks, Kegger. It was fun.
Absolutely. So, that's Joey Miller. It's Dave McCaig. When we come back, going to be bringing in Justin Hykel. It's just going to be myself and Justin here this evening here at Boston Pizza, as Dane has used a sick day here on the Game Sports Show. So don't touch that dial. Be myself and Justin. When we come back, we talk to Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds here on the Game Sports Show.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank an additional home to the Game Sports Show, Canadian franchise Boston Pizza. Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie, located on 601 Great Northern Road, Sault Ste. Marie. Come in and join Boston Pizza for its numerous specials that are offered. After 9 p.m. daily, come in to Boston Pizza for $9 schooners, $4 rail drinks, and delicious food. Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie, you're among friends.
The Mr. Electric Avenue segment would also like to thank its additional sponsors. The Salon, located on 587 2nd Line East, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Owned and operated by Mike Guglietta. The Salon, making the Soo beautiful, one haircut at a time. Also, special thanks to Soo Pee-wee Pro Shop, located in the Soo Pee-wee Arena on 285 Northern Avenue East, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Soo Pee-wee Pro Shop for over 40 years, meeting all your skate sharpening needs, repairs, and hockey needs.
Welcome back to the Game Sports Show. It's, again, yours truly, David McCaig. I want to thank Joey Miller for coming on by here for an interview here live at Boston Pizza. The first live on-location interview that we've had on the show, but like I said earlier in the show, we got plenty more interviews and a lot of special guests coming up in terms of the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, former and current professional hockey players, coaches, local hockey celebrities, as we like to call them. There's lots more coming on in terms of the show with that, but once again, thanks to Joey Miller for stopping on by on the Game Sports Show. We appreciate your time for sure, Joey, and it was nice chatting with you over nice Molson products and a little bit of hockey chat. But now, sitting beside me on my left, we have Justin Hykel. As I said, it's just Justin and myself here this evening at Boston Pizza, as Dane Hanshaw took a good old-fashioned sick day today, which is sometimes allowed, but not really. But Justin, good seeing you, buddy. How are you?
It's nice being here on date night tonight, Dave. It's cute in the corner.
It is date night. We're in our own location with balloons in the background. Pretty soon we're going to have our banner down here, and it's just you and I sipping on nice Molson products here and talking sports, hockey, the sport that we love to talk about.
A little bit of hockey talk going on here tonight, just a little bit.
Just a little bit. And on the introduction of the show, we talked about, the agendas of the show. People have been asking a lot about what's the agenda, 3 days, what the show's talking about. I did cover that, and then obviously the interview with Joe. But there is some things that I missed in the intro, which is okay because there was so much in that first 10 minutes in the introduction. Got to give a special shout out for a happy birthday to Aaron Grisdak. How I forgot to put that in the intro is absolutely ludicrous, and I should be ashamed of myself. But the guy himself, the legend, Aaron Grisdak, being a part of this Boston Pizza here and being a part of the Game Sports Show. Now, definitely got to give him a shout out for his birthday. And there's some things that he wanted me to mention as well in terms of Super Bowl plans. I know this is a hockey show, and a baseball show as well, I should include. But there is some special events coming up here at Boston Pizza that you for sure do not want to miss. And That is the Super Bowl party. February 4th, you're going to have blank versus blank. You choose your pick who you think it's going to be, the two teams, but there's going to be Super Bowl party plans. Boston Pizza is teaming up with Molson. The door prize is going to be a big smart TV, the size to be determined, but there's going to be food and drink specials, interactive games for big prizes, and admissions to be determined where food will be included on your ticket price. Stay tuned next week for final details, and pay attention to Boston Pizza's Facebook page at Boston Pizza SSM to check into that and be a part of the Super Bowl plans. You don't want to miss that. We also have $4 rail drinks and $9 schooners active at this point. And to be shortly, we will have the appetizers in place as well with the deals. And later on in the year, in February, in the next month, we're going to have live entertainment here at Boston Pizza. Live entertainment Saturday nights featuring top local artists, acoustic play mostly, to come and give you a little bit of extra enjoyment here at Boston Pizza. And speaking of enjoyment, we got a packed crowd here at Boston Pizza tonight. Music's going.
Pretty full house tonight.
Pretty full house. And, you know, we're going to have a big question this week on our show. We're going to have our trivia question that's going to be active after the commercial break, though. And you got to make sure that you listen, because we'll be asking you a very special question. And the answer that you get correct, I'm going to tell you what the prize is after the break, though. So you got to tune in and see and make sure that you catch that to get the prize of that question. But we're going to get to that after our next break. So, Justin, you and I right now, as I said previously, we're going to be talking about the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds in this portion before we go to break and talk the NHL portion. And we have a local team to talk about, don't we ever? The Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds.
Yeah, the boys are playing some hockey out there. That's that record, 37-3, or is it? What is it? Are we 37?
37-3, 2-1.
Like, that's ridiculous. I just had to take a double take at that. Like, that's crazy. Like, what's our point lead right now?
We are a total of 15 points above Sarnia Sting, which is ludicrous.
So you're saying we got a big showdown coming up then?
We do got a big showdown. The Hounds currently, since we've done our last show, have played 2 games. Since we've had our last show with myself, yourself, and Dane, they played the Owen Sound Attack and the Mississauga Steelheads. And let me tell you, the big line of Morgan Frost, Boris Kachuk, and Taylor Radish have put on an absolute clinic since they've started out against Saginaw earlier in the month. And let me tell you, Frost with 3 points, Boris with 2 goals, Radish 2 assists in the 5-2 win over Owen Sound, and the 7-4 win over Mississauga. Radish had 5 points. 5 points. Boris with 3 points, and Morgan Frost with 2 goals. And get this stat. Coaches love this stat. Sambrook is a +6 in the past 2 games with 2 assists against the Steelheads also. Now, Radish has 9 points in his first 3 games with the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, certainly living up to the expectation.
It's a good pace. I like that pace. We can definitely carry that into the playoffs. I think we'll be okay.
Definitely, and that line is absolutely unstoppable. That line, when I saw them live play against Saginaw, was just gross. And the chemistry they have out there, and Boris and Radish being a part of the Tampa organization already and being good friends, Radish only wanting to join the Greyhounds, he's showing why he really wants to be here. And they gave up 9 draft picks and a very good prospect in Fowler to get him. And he's showing that he is worth it right now for sure. And hey, to the plus minus that he has too and all this, going into tomorrow night's game, they have a big game against the Sarnia Sting in Sarnia on the road, who are the team behind the Hounds, but they have a record of 30-12-2. Not as impressive as the Greyhounds record, but still a team you can't take lightly.
It almost seems like they're miles away. And 30-12-2 is still an outstanding record as far as I'm concerned. But this Greyhounds team just seems to be like a step above every other team in the league right now. I mean, if we can carry that going forward. I mean, I don't want to, think ahead to the playoffs, but I don't want to overthink Sarnia, but I think we should roll them tomorrow. I honestly do. I think with the amount of firepower we're bringing in and how steady the back end is right now, I find it very hard to see us losing. I don't know, man. The boys are putting up a lot of points out there.
They are, and they're getting stability from the goaltending. They're getting stability from the back end, as you said, and the forwards right now. I know everyone's really keen on this first line, but we can't forget about Verbeek, and we can't forget about the other guys that are out there really providing. The team is all around gelling right now, even Gettinger. Getting Radish, I think I put a little bit more fire in Gettinger, and seen a lot of impressive action from these Hountain guys. And the big wins against Owen Sound and Mississauga to keep the winning streak going up. Sarnia has a big one tomorrow, and they even got Saturday in Flint. Flint, who carry a record of 12-26 coming in against the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. They can't take them lightly either. These are games throughout, and you have to keep this pace going, keep the momentum going into the playoffs, don't you think?
Well, these are the games you got to win. These are the tests going forward. These games where guys like us kind of look at them and go, these are the games where in the locker room you can't overthink these teams. And these are the games you got to win. These are the games. I don't know. It's a real tricky time of year where you can slip, and you can slip quick. You can let things get away from you. I mean, we've seen teams in the past, in the back half of the season, after Christmas time and to January, you think things are looking good. I don't know. It's a toughie.
It certainly is. And you know what? It's good to have these 2 games, but the big game, the big test tomorrow is going to be a very heavily watched game. It's Sarnia Sting are not a team to take lightly. And the Hounds, though, the way this team is built from line 1, 2, 3, 4, I don't even think they really have a fourth, third, little line you want to call. These lines are rolling. Everyone's trusted in. Obviously, the big offensive power in the past couple games have definitely been from the top line of Frost, Kachuk, and also with Radish. But at the end of the day, you got to sit here and point at these guys and say how excellent this team has been and how good it has been for the city. And you and I, and Dane also, has sat here and said, you know what, with the Hounds having this much success, even with the past handful of years, this is the year. This is what everyone feels like in Sault Ste. Marie. This is what people feel that this will be the year the Hounds can do what they did in '93 and win the Memorial Cup. I said it. I'm not calling that they are doing it. I'm saying this is the best chance that we've seen in recent years.
This is the best chance I've seen in a long time. I mean, I was around in the last Memorial Cup run, and I remember that. That was,
that doesn't take away from the talent that they've had with Jeff Carter, Simmons, and all the guys, but just all around.
No, this team though, it's just this is a team. It's not individual good players. This is a good team, through and through. They roll 4 good lines. Your defense is rock solid. Your goaltending has been on point. It's just a good quality hockey team. I mean, the fact that we're not getting a little more exposure on the CHL broadcast is a little ridiculous right now.
And we're not, and we know Shaw's getting a lot of the local games, but it'd be good to see Sportsnet come on in and give us a bit more coverage for that for sure. Dave McCaig here alongside Justin Hykel. We're here live on location at Boston Pizza at Sault Ste. Marie, located on Great Northern Road in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. You definitely know where it is out there. You know where Boston Pizza is. It is the place to be. And like I said, tonight we have a good crowd here at Boston Pizza celebrating the man, the myth, the legend, Aaron Grisdack's birthday, and a lot of the events coming up in the show. And speaking of these Hounds, we are in motion of getting them with guests coming in here on behalf of them, Radish, Boris, Frost, everyone included like that. But you know what? Besides Radish, besides Frost, besides Kachuk, the guys that really stand out to me that I want to see going down the stretch that really continue this game is Verbeek. I want to see guys like Sambrook continue this run with what they have with the plus-minus, him being a +6 and having 2 assists. Sambrook's known as defensive defenseman drafted by the Detroit Red Wings, is doing a great job. Can't forget about Barrett Hayton as well. There's a very fast guy on the ice for the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, a little underlying factor with him. Gettinger, their captain, he's has some pressure alleviated off him after bringing in Taylor Radish, Jack Kapaka. There's guys on this team that are just deep. Kapaka was +3 in that Owen Sound game. All these little stats that maybe I'm looking at as a coach perspective, those are little points that people may not like, but those are important factors for the team to get wins. Out of those players, Justin, is there another name that stands out maybe for yourself that you would maybe like, that you're excited to see that could help carry this team and alleviate a bit more pressure off Frost, Kachuk, and Radish?
As you mentioned, Dave, I'd say Barrett Hayton's probably the guy to look for. I mean, he's on the under-17 team. I'd say he's probably one to look for on our World Junior team next year. Probably a guy you'd see the Hounds potentially trade next year to restock these draft picks they gave up for Radish.
There's potential with that, and there's a guy for sure that is definitely being watched by the NHL as well. I can definitely agree with you on that point. From a local perspective with the Hounds, before we wrap up this, before we go to commercial, we've talked about this numerous times. When I went to the game against Saginaw, it was a very high crowd there. The atmosphere of the SR Center is starting to pick up a bit more. How excited should Sault Ste. Marie be right now? How excited should we be about the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds?
I think we should be very excited. I mean, this team's ridiculous. This team's playing better hockey than some of the teams in the NHL right now. I would rather watch the Greyhounds night in and night out on TV than some of the other stuff that's out there. I mean, we're lucky locally. We do get the Shaw broadcast, so, I can. It's a little rough, but I can. But Shaw broadcast aside, the only reason you should be watching the Shaw broadcast is because you couldn't get tickets because they were sold out. Otherwise, you should be at the rink watching this team.
And your butts should definitely be in those seats at the SR Center. Making it loud. Make it loud like it was at the Memorial Gardens. Remember, you couldn't even talk. You couldn't even think in some of those games. I saw Jeff Carter coming down the right side and on top of Sokoleta, Richard, Cole Barcel. Tyler Kennedy making that big grinding hit, grinding out from the corners and putting the puck in the net on one of those grinder-type goals. Wayne Simmons even. I know that wasn't really the mem days, but where you see this team is definitely a team that we have not really fully seen with this potential. We had Nick Ritchie and those guys, D'Angelo, come in. But there's something about this team. Something different about this team that kind of gets me a warm, fuzzy feeling. And a lot of it comes from that top line with Frost, Kachuk, and Radish. But the presence of Hayden, the presence of Sambrook, and the presence of Verbeek and even Gettinger really picking up this game since the trade as well. It is definitely a certainty for everyone to be excited going forward.
Like I said, the team's rolling 4 lines. And that's... To be able to roll 4 lines in the NHL, you're a successful team. To be able to roll 2 or 3 lines in the OHL, I think you're a very successful team. The Hounds are rolling 4. There's not one. I'd be comfortable with any of those lines against a lot of other teams' first and second pairings like that.
You know what? There's definitely got to keep an eye out for Hamilton, being a team that made some heavy moves with deadline too. But it just seems like it's a good feeling to be a Hound fan right now. We are most certainly loaded. And you know what? Next time we come back on the show next week, the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds are going to have this weekend wrapped up. They play Sarnia tomorrow in Sarnia, as I mentioned, and they play Flint on Saturday in Flint before returning home for Friday, January the 26th, where they play the Windsor Spitfires at 7:07. So you want to make sure you buy your tickets in advance because that's going to be a hot ticket item on a Friday night. Make sure you get to the game and support the local Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds to watch this amazing talent that we have here in hand. And how fortunate we are to have a team like the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds in front of us, especially at this very moment. So it's myself, Dave McCaig, alongside Justin Hykel, live at Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie, here for Aaron Grisdak's birthday. I'm going to keep saying that as well because I don't know how I forgot that at the introduction. A shame on me for sure. But we're going to take a quick break here, Justin. When we come back, we're going to talk NHL. We're going to talk a big portion of the show. We're going to talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs, who are actually currently in action right now against the Philadelphia Flyers as we speak. And as I said at the beginning of this part of the show, there's going to be a trivia question asked after the commercial break. And what do you get? You're going to have to wait and see after the break from our sponsors and hear from our sponsors. On behalf of Justin and Dave McCaig, we'll be right back here on The Game Sports Show.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank an additional home to The Game Sports Show, Canadian franchise Boston Pizza. Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie, located on 601 Great Northern Road, Sault Ste. Marie. Come in and join Boston Pizza for its numerous specials that are offered. After 9 p.m. daily, come in to Boston Pizza for $9 schooners, $4 rail drinks, and delicious food. Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie, you're among friends.
The Mr. Electric Avenue segment would also like to thank its additional sponsors. North Shore Sports and Auto, located on 30 Calboogie Road in Echo Bay, Ontario. Ran and operated by Ryan Jordan Roquetta. North Shore Sports and Auto, meet all of your new and pre-owned equipment needs. Would also like to thank the Salon, located on 587 Second Line East, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Owned and operated by Mike Cuglietta. The Salon, making the Soo beautiful, one haircut at a time. Would also like to thank the Superior Pro Shop, located in the Superior Arena on 285 Northern Avenue East, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Owned and operated by Jeremy Paquin and ran by Larry Monroe. For over 40 years, the Superior Pro Shop meeting all of your skate sharpening, ski repairs, and hockey needs.
Welcome back to the Game Sports Show. Yours truly still here, Dave McCaig, alongside good friend, alongside my good co-host, my analyst, whatever you want to be called, along with our many co-hosts and analysts, Justin Hykel. We've had quite a good show thus far. Obviously, we had the beginning with all the introduction points. I had Joey Miller stopped in. Then we talked a lot Greyhounds. But now on this portion of the show, we have a lot to talk about in terms of the NHL. And boy, do we have a lot of topics to discuss for the two of us. But before we get into that, I told everybody that I would have a trivia. And I better be a man of my word, because that's what I am. I like to have my word as strong as oak. There's going to be a trivia question that I'm going to give you, and I want you to listen to the instructions. Now, since we can't get responses online at this time, or, you know what, no phone lines are really open at this time, the way you are going to answer this question is by sending me an email or on Facebook or tweeting me. Now, for the email, it's David, all lowercase, J.R. McCaig, MCCAIG @gmail.com. That's David, J.R. McCaig, all one put together, all lowercase, @gmail.com. Or you can reach me on Facebook, David McCaig Jr., or on Twitter. My tag is @DavidJR McCaig. You are simply just going to state what the question was and what the answer is. In the future for this trivia, on our The Game Sports Show website, we are going to have an option of where you can respond to the question that way and get this prize through that way and get your answer that way and so on and so forth. So once again, email davidjrmccaig @gmail.com, or you got my Facebook, David McCaig Jr., or my Twitter @DavidJRMcCaig to give this answer. And like I said, it'll be on our website going forward, or even on the live segments. You'll be able to tweet us live or call in, where numbers will be given to you to answer. But for now, answer one of those three ways I said numerous times. Now, the question is going to be something involving Boston Pizza, and the prize is going to be a free large pizza delivered to your house. So you're going to get a large pizza plus free delivery to your house. Just don't be shy to tip the driver, though, however, do you mind throwing him a little money for bringing this? So it's a large pizza that'll be coming to your house if you can answer this question correctly and give me the answer first before anybody else, and I will provide proof on who answered first at what time. So, without further ado, I think I was pretty clear on those instructions. Moving on with the question. There are 10 jerseys in the restaurant on the bar side of Boston Pizza. I need you to send me an email, a message, a tweet, letting me know 4 names on those jerseys in Boston Pizza. Give me 4 names out of the 10 that are on the bar side of Boston Pizza, and if those 4 names are correct, you'll have the chance to win a large pizza delivered to your house, courtesy of Boston Pizza. What do you think of that, Justin?
I like that. I mean, I like pizza, so...
And it definitely give you a little hint. That pizza, I would definitely be sticking with the spicy pierogi pizza. I think that would definitely probably be your best bet, as Justin and Dane last week enjoyed that spicy pierogi pizza as well. So there's a little tip. And that question, again, is 10 jerseys in Boston Pizza. Give us 4 last names / names on those jerseys, and you can win a large pizza delivered to your house. So moving on with the show here. Got a couple topics we're going to talk about. Justin, I'm going to let you briefly talk about this one. Luis Dominique, make sure I got that pronounced correctly, former Arizona goaltender who is now part of the Tampa Bay Lightning organization. Get a little story you told me off air a little bit that I kind of want you to spend a minute or two talking about here.
Well, I was just reading on, I believe it was on Twitter last night, and there's just a bit of a blurb from him talking about how in the summer when Arizona went and they acquired, after they traded Mike Smith and they had acquired some other goalies, he was kind of the odd man out. And what he, as far as information goes, had received from the team was basically to sit at home until another team calls you because you're not welcome at our facility. And what he ended up doing was getting ice time with Shane Doan and his sons, like Shane Doan's 14-year-olds, to come out and, keep him warm, keep him in shape, get him out of the house. That's kind of the sad end of sports, or you don't hear a lot of that. But I mean, as you see the NHL kind of becoming more of a, I don't want to say money ball, we'll call it a money puck driven league, where it's an analytics based league, and what did you do for us today is the attitude. You're going to have a lot more of these stories coming out. It's just sad.
For sure. With Mike Smith, who moved on to the Calgary Flames, they brought in some new blood in Arizona, trying to change up everything. And Domingue was the odd guy out, as you said. And for him to continue to live that dream, and work hard and not give up. Good little story for him getting the call up to Tampa Bay. Wish him all the best of luck as well, because we like to see people succeed. We like to see success stories get developed here on the Game Sports Show. You know what? We like when success is brought forward, and when it isn't brought forward, so at least you played there. I'm not playing in the NHL, but for Luis Domingue to show that he is not giving up his dream, and for Tampa to give him a chance, hopefully he gets some games in there with the league's best team currently. Next thing we're going to talk about here, Justin, is Andrew Cogliano. Pretty hot topic this week. Andrew Cogliano's Ironman streak ended at 830 games in a row for Andrew Cogliano, the longest streak in the NHL active until, of course, he has received his 2-game suspension and not being able to catch up to the record that is held at 964 by Doug Jarvis. Andrew Cogliano now, who was quite emotional at his interview knowing his Ironman streak was snapped and to be suspended. He's not used to being out of the lineup. And, these are the type of stories like someone who's not injury prone, someone who puts his heart on his sleeve, former Edmonton Oiler, traded to the Anaheim Ducks, has been a proud Duck and worked hard. He's made every game up to 830. How impressive is that, Justin? That is amazing.
You don't see a lot of that in sports anymore. And I think the next closest streak was Eli Manning in the NFL, and that was, I think, 213 or 203 games, and he had to catch up to Brett Favre at, I believe, 264. I don't know, for guys to stay healthy that long, it's just it's a testament to their regime, their training, their maintenance. That's an accomplishment. To play 830 games of professional sports at the highest league, good for him. And it's a bummer for it to go down on a suspension. It is what it is, but it's a real bummer for it to go down on a suspension.
It could have went down in maybe like an injury type fashion, which would have been a bit more easier to take for Andrew Cogliano. But at the end of the day, it is ended. Good for him getting as far as he did. Now we got some players that now currently hold it. Keith Yandel takes over the Ironman lead actively at 676 games going into tonight. So Keith Yandel's got that. And we know that Phil Kessel is not too far behind that as well. Now there's time for someone else to potentially take on a new mantle with that, but definitely couldn't not go on to make sure we don't talk about Cogliano in this aspect. And speaking of good runs, our next point, Rene Rancourt of the Boston Bruins, retiring after 42 years. I'm only 26, so 42 years with the Boston Bruins, he was singing. And his first game, and you pointed this out, was Bobby Orr's last game as a Bruin. And after 42 years, the known singer for the Boston Bruins, Rene Rancourt, will be retiring. He is a legend for singing, though, absolutely.
Oh, man, nothing beats that bow tie. How do you... I mean, I hate the Bruins as a Leafs fan. I absolutely hate the Bruins. And I mean, my football team is the Colts, so I obviously hate the Patriots. I'm not a big fan of Boston sports, but Rene Rancourt, man, it's the best thing that Boston sports have going. And now they're losing that. And that bow tie.
And he is an absolute legend. Got to give him kudos for sure for being an absolute legend in terms of singing. And, you got the Vancouver Canucks singer. You got a lot of good quality singers in the National Hockey League. But now the NHL is losing one of the best. And congratulations on his career, because there is other things beyond life and work. Now, next point, get into the meat and potatoes. The mangiato, as they say in Italian, the eating of the meat and potatoes. We got some news and updates in terms of the NHL we're going to talk about, and the NHL trade deadline stuff before we get to talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs, whom just suffered a defeat against the Philadelphia Flyers in overtime once again. The Leafs, who haven't won in regulation time since December 28th. Getting a little bit scared with this third period lead blowing, but we're going to get to that just momentarily. We're going to talk about some updates in the terms of the NHL. Columbus picking up UC Jokinen on waivers from the Los Angeles Kings. A little bit of Finnish connection there with the Columbus Blue Jackets general manager. It'd be great to see where he kind of fits in maybe on the third and fourth line, or maybe in and out forward for Columbus, who's a very young and hungry team. Could have that veteran presence with UC Jokinen, who's been around in the Florida days, has been around the Pittsburgh days. He's been around a lot of veteran players, so it'd be good to see what he can bring on. The Sharks, Paul Martin was put on waivers earlier this week, and his $4.85 million cap hit, still a year left, was not picked up on waivers. He cleared waivers and went down to the minors, and San Jose has been aggressively looking for a trade partner to take him, but unfortunately, as of right now, there is nobody that it was willing to take Paul Martin for free. Unfortunately, a very veteran defenseman who's won Stanley Cup, who's been a stay-at-home presence with the New Jersey Devils, Pittsburgh Penguins, and the San Jose Sharks. His age is 36 years old, and is this the last we've seen of Paul Martin? Or do we get to see him come back, or is something be done here by the deadline?
I think something will be done by the deadline. I mean, Paul Martin's too good of a defenseman to go unclaimed. I just think the price has to be right for him. I mean, we talked about this in the break, and the cap hit is probably what's holding the deal up on this, because what we say, like Ron Hainsey is at a much more reasonable, I think, 2.5, is he not? So, then I feel like you get a very similar quality of player in Paul Martin. It's a calming veteran presence, but aside from that, you're not going to get a whole lot in this game that you can't get in a younger, cheaper, money puck style player. I'm going to try and coin that term.
I like that. I like the money puck term. I like that. I really do like that. Paul Martin knows that's maybe the type of guy Toronto could look at as a backup, but we can't forget that Ron Hainsey's back there. But there's a lot of playoff contending teams. That is Toronto. There's you got to keep an eye that San Jose is a team that has a lot of loaded young D that they're going with. But you know what? Maybe you can't even look at Vegas because they got about 15 rostered defensemen there. But there's some potential teams that maybe could have looked at Paul Martin. Nashville Predators, the Pittsburgh Penguins, bringing him back, who are starving to try to get back into the playoff hunt. New Jersey Devils, who have a lot of young defensemen, maybe could have considered bringing him back. That was a rumor team actually. But the Paul Martin being with the New Jersey Devils made sense. But again, it is that $4.85 million where New Jersey is going to be tight for cap to sign all these younger guys. So if they can make a deal where San Jose eats up half of the salary, then I can see something getting done for sure from this end. Other things as well we're going to jump into right now is the trade deadline. Now, you know what? The trade deadline is February 26th. It's a little bit down the road. Still got a month plus of it to go. But why don't we give the listeners a little bit of something to talk about with what we think, mostly geared towards the Canadian teams in terms of this. A little bit of American teams as well, especially with Detroit and the Columbus Blue Jackets. But sticking to the Canadian teams here a little bit, little deadline preview from our end from what we see currently today. The NHL trade deadlines, many Canadian teams are on different paths, 100% currently. Winnipeg, Calgary, and Toronto definitely seem like to be the buyers this year. Toronto looks pretty comfortable. It looks like they're going to be having a first-round date with the Boston Bruins. It seems like at this current point. Today, at this current point, we'll see how that goes. Calgary and Winnipeg sitting nicely in their current divisions in the Western Conference. Where you think of your sellers. Ottawa, Montreal, Edmonton, and Vancouver seem to be the sellers. Vancouver more still on that rebuild. Edmonton, who made conference finals last year, is now unlikely to make the playoffs. And you got the Montreal Canadiens, who are 9 points out of a wild card spot. They're over a dozen plus points behind the Toronto Maple Leafs. It just seems like it's a certainty that they're going to be selling. The Ottawa Senators, after having a game against the St. Louis Blues tonight, that was not going in their favor at this current point. Definitely seem like they're going to be selling. Now, the only name that's been coming up is Erik Karlsson, but we can't talk about that at the NHL trade deadline. I think that's ludicrous. So we're going to talk about all those Canadian teams, and I'm going to start off with the Montreal Canadiens, though, Justin. Pretty much the active team that we hear a lot of, that have a lot of deals apparently in the works or considering. You got Plekanec, a veteran presence that some teams that are younger that might look for that veteran help on the third, fourth lines. Max Pacioretty. A lot of fingers being pointed at him that deal's even potentially being done already. Alex Galchenyuk, and a young stud. Maybe Montreal's looking to make a big splash. A name that I'm interested that I haven't seen been talked around a lot is Shea Weber. I know they traded PK Subban for him, but A lot of people are missing out that I think a lot of teams are going to be inquiring about Shea Weber. I know he has a massive contract, but that could be enough. And he is. Injury-prone guy, being a little bit older, but can't forget that he is another name of discussion with the three guys. Buchanan, Pacioretty, Galchenyuk, definitely got to be guys that they look at to move.
I think they should trade everything but the logo. I mean, this team's been a tire fire this year. The coach can't seem to get anything going out of them. The general manager looks frustrated in every interview you see with him. Hey, Montreal has just come out flat this entire year, and they've done nothing exciting. And I feel like he's probably having a tough time trying to trade these guys because they haven't really, aside from as of late, they haven't had a whole lot of games where they look great. So you can't really trade anything that no one wants.
You can't. And you know what? The big name that really sticks out to me is Max Pacioretty, their captain, their leader. I know there's a lot of interest, and we're going to get into a team that's buying that might look at some offense from Montreal. But definitely, what do you guys think out there in terms of trading for Montreal Canadiens? Buchanan, Pacioretty, Galchenyuk, or is it going to be like Justin said, everything but the logo being traded for Montreal? Let me know what you think. On my end, I'm definitely going that basically on Justin's end that they're going to be doing a lot of veteran retooling trading and trying to get a little bit younger to make a bit of moves and gain some more excitement in the land of Montreal. The Ottawa Senators, the other team we're going to talk about here, the player that has been rumored for trades, Erik Karlsson. Everyone get this out of your heads right now. I'm going to tell you, he is not getting traded at this NHL trade deadline. There's absolutely no way. If something happens between now and February 26th where they're able to make a move and pull off a move that they don't think they can get in the summer, then okay. At the end of the day, this is not a trade that happens in a month. This is a trade that takes months to tool up, especially might be the best defenseman available in the NHL for trade right now. They're not trading him overnight. So let's bring up names that are realistically going to get traded here. Dion Phaneuf, potentially. He got a high contract, but there's some interest. Alex Burrows, some veteran help that might help a young team. Mike Hoffman, who has been apparently targeted by the San Jose Sharks. Those are the type of guys that Ottawa's going to be moving. And Ottawa fans out there, face this. You are going to be retooling because you guys are, let's just say, pretty far out from the playoffs next to Buffalo. You guys don't seem that it's going to be a thing for you this year, so you're being eluded from the playoff spot. Those are names.
Trade for Nathan McKinnon. They'll give up those 9 first-round draft picks and 8 starting players that Buffalo wants.
I love those that analogy with Nathan McKinnon, and Colorado probably would definitely not trade Nathan McKinnon, obviously, but jokes aside, because of what they traded for Matt Duchene, making a lot of moves, but a guy that they did trade for this year, Matt Duchene, that trade most certainly has not been panning out for them. They need to make some retooling here. And at the end of the day, Dion Phaneuf, Burrows, and Hoffman. The most attractive names out of there, I think, are Burrows and Hoffman. Unless you're going to be eating up Phaneuf contract. I think teams will like Phaneuf, but Ottawa's going to have to eat up a lot of contract if they want to trade him.
Oh, yeah. Ottawa's probably going to have to eat at least $2.5, maybe $3 million out of that yearly salary just to get rid of him. At this point, they're probably better off sitting on him.
Absolutely. They probably are. And Mike Hoffman, they'll attract a lot of attention from him. Getting him from San Jose especially, who has got a lot of prospects in their pool. And Alex Burrows, being a veteran, he's been there. He's been to the Cup Finals, hasn't won. A lot of young teams might be interested in that, or maybe a team that's looking for some third-line help, maybe a little bit of fourth-line help. Burrows can really come in and set the tone for that. And there might be some teams, especially more in the Western Conference side of things, Nashville, teams like that might look to that veteran kind of help that Nashville's missing from Mike Fisher, despite their success this year thus far. That'd be a team. Maybe even Las Vegas could be looking at a little bit of veteran help for sure. Moving on from Ottawa, Vancouver, the other team we said that was selling. We got 2 more teams to talk about we're selling. Vancouver, Thomas Vanek, Gabranson, Eric Gabranson. And we're going to talk about Gabranson a little bit because I think it's going to give everyone a little spoiler who we think Branson's been targeted by. Louis Eriksson and the Sedin Twins. Now, the Sedin Twins will be something I think might be more of a summer thing as well. Even though they're devoted to staying in Vancouver, they got to move these guys and they get the deadline if they can do it to a team like New Jersey, to a team like Nashville, to a team like Vegas, to a team like San Jose. Those teams that are hungry for these 2 guys to get trades now, because I don't think it's something that's possible in the offseason. Louis Eriksson is going to be sort of an easier trade too. He has a $5 million hit. You can eat up $1 million. You can move him to a team as well. Very attractive team. They're rebuilding for a lot of trades, and a lot of teams are hungry. Thomas Vanek. there could be a lot of potential for him to go somewhere. Veteran guy who might have that help in with the Boston Bruins. There could be help with the New Jersey Devils as well, looking for some extra veteran help. Very attractive team in terms of trades.
No, definitely. I think Vancouver's got a lot of pieces. They're in a very good position. They've got a lot of tangible pieces to move, and they've got enough young talent that bringing in these draft picks, they're going to make their team better. Like they're at a good stage in their rebuild. It's not a retool; it's a rebuild out in Vancouver, where I think come this summer they're good to move on from the Sedins. I mean, I think the time to move the Sedins, like you said, is at the trade deadline. You're not going to maximize their value any more than you're going to at the end of February this year. And I kind of liked what you said about Vegas. I mean, the Sedins in Vegas would be absolutely. That's an interesting concept.
You put the Sedins with Neil on a line together. There's potential that Marchessault playing with the Sedins, who's already doing well. This is a young dynamic, and get this, they have a lot of young defensemen to trade. Something that'd be pretty interesting if Vancouver moves Gabranson. Fine, we'll move Gabranson to maybe Toronto that we're going to get to for a prospect and picks. Okay, let's go to Vegas and maybe go after. Definitely not Colin Miller. Colin Miller's foul at home in Vegas, but there's guys who are in and out of the lineup in Vegas that could be attractive. Even some veterans that they could move to let their young guys play, because Vegas plays those young guys over those veterans. So at the end of the day, they move someone like Gabranson, Vancouver, for instance. Sure, let's go to Vegas and move the Sedins. We get all these bunch of draft picks that Vegas got from a lot of teams. They have a lot of draft picks to move. Vancouver is probably really looking at Vegas for something like you can move the Sedins. Vanek, I don't think has a fit in Vegas. I don't see really Eriksson maybe with Vegas. I don't know if that would be a for sure thing. Definitely the Sedin twins would be attractive for him to go over there.
I don't know. Would you think that Boston would maybe look at Eriksson with that cap hit?
Bringing him back. Look at the success he had in Boston. Put him back with Marchand and Bergeron.
Like he was pretty good there. And Boston, I would kind of say, is overachieving right now. And like I said, we talked about this during the break. Like I'm expecting for Boston to fall off. I'm not going to say it's going to be a dramatic fall off, but I don't think they're going to be as high in the standings as they are right now. Getting a player like Eriksson might stop that drop off. It's a good way to kind of backstop your team and reassemble a line that you knew had success in the past.
Yep, I think so. And Vancouver, though, definitely some attractive pieces. One more team to talk about for sellers. Edmonton Oilers. Patrick Maroon, Letestu, and Sakura. Kind of some names have been tossed around. For the most part, Patrick Maroon being the guy who has been rumored to even achieve a first-round pick. There's a guy that was just picked up at Edmonton, got first-line time with McDavid. Now he's sniping goals. Big power forward to put the puck in the net. A lot of teams would be interested in acquiring a big forward like that, especially the Pittsburgh Penguins would definitely be interested in something like that as well. Edmonton. What a heartbreak. I wish Dane was here to really attest to this more so from a heartbreak end, but they're a team that's solid this year.
Yeah, I feel bad touching this without Dane here. I feel like we're not really going to do it justice. But, I mean, if Evander Kane is going to get 13 first-round draft picks, then I guess Patrick Maroon should at least get one.
It seems like first-round picks would be tossed more, but in these drafts, you're not seeing the type of generational talent like at Matthews and McDavid, so that's why they're a lot more friendlier to move for sure. And the Oiler fans, I apologize, but you got some attractive pieces to move. And this deadline might be the best deadline we've seen in a few years because a lot of teams that are selling that we didn't expect to be selling. Other teams that's notable, we're going to say Evander Kane from Buffalo. We talked about this past week. Apparently, Buffalo wants the entire farm for him. The guy has been known as a team cancer. Now, from a professional standpoint, we're not getting into those comments, but we can say that Evander Kane will likely be moved at the deadline to a team of the highest bid, and something is still telling me Vancouver would be extremely interested in bringing him in, especially if the Sedins and they make a lot of moves with their veterans to bring in a lot of young guys. They might move some of those picks that they get after moving these veterans to bring in Evander Kane. I just feel like it's a great fit for Vancouver there. Or, may I say it again, Vegas or New Jersey. For those reasons, those two teams just feel like they have a lot to give that they can buy for sure. Columbus is not selling. They're not really in the selling type right now, but they have a veteran defenseman in Jack Johnson who requested a trade today. And we know that there's one team already interested, apparently coming to reports that it's the Toronto Maple Leafs that are coming up in interest in that. But he has a heavy contract as well that would probably have to get something done in there. But Jack has requested a trade. Now for buyers. We're going to talk about buyers here, and we're going to talk about Toronto, being connected with these buyers and some Toronto updates. Justin, we got approximately 10 minutes left here on the show to talk about all this. And it's myself and you here at Boston Pizza, and it's a lively crowd here tonight for Aaron Grizdak's birthday. We got the music going in the background, and we got some good, lively, interactive fans, and everyone waving at us over here. It's been a great show thus far. So let's jump into the buyers, and we're going to talk about Winnipeg first. Paul Maurice, who we have slated to come on in the next month, definitely get his take on a lot of things, especially that San Jose Shark interview. They're buyers. And to quickly get into this, they don't need defense. We know that. That team has solid defense. Their goaltending is, you got Mason and Hellebuck. It's a little scary, but goaltending market is something you can't dive into. It's definitely offense that the Winnipeg Jets are buying. Mark Scheifele is injured. When he comes back, that's a big boost. And they're doing this good without him. Imagine if they can acquire some talent. And where can they get this talent? Maybe Verbata from Florida, who is also going to be a team selling. Why not look at Montreal? Alex Galchenyuk. Or Max Pacioretty. You got some good moving young D you can move.
I honestly think that Winnipeg doesn't have to look much farther than their training room. You get these guys back from injury, and I think you guys they're dialed in again. Like, I honestly think that the Jets they don't really need. Could you add a scorer? Yeah, you probably could, but once Scheifele comes back, then where does that guy slot in? You kind of mess up the chemistry.
We've said about getting forwards in to mess up the chemistry and not fix something that's broke. I am only going to disagree in terms. I think Kevin Cheveldayoff has never made moves, and he has picks to move. He has prospects that aren't playing. I think bringing in the potential of Max Pacioretty or an Alex Galchenyuk doesn't really change the dynamic, but to bring in our top forward like that to solidify just in case Scheifele's injury is 100% would definitely be good, especially with Galchenyuk, who can play both center and wing. But I think Max Pacioretty is a more easier guy to move. Another buyer, Calgary Flames. They're buying. I know they weren't really, they're on the fence, but they're buying. And where are they going to buy? Not D. And Jaromir Jagr. There's a guy that we probably can expect even to get moved because he's not being used much in Calgary for depth, which is sort of little pieces. What about Calgary not making any moves and staying put?
I could see them looking for a forward to slot into that role that they were looking for Jagr to slot into. Maybe like a Vanek. Kind of like I thought maybe like a Vanek or a UC Jokinen, but Jokinen was picked up by Columbus today. So I guess we're left with Vanek. Or maybe a Louis Eriksson.
Very interesting, especially with Louis Eriksson point there. Very good point.
I just don't... Calgary's not going defense. They're not going goalie. They just need a little bit of goal-scoring help.
There's a little bit of that extra help that they've hoped for to get from Jagr. Jagr I don't want to see retire. I want to see him keep playing. But I think even though he can still get traded to a contender, but he would be in a depth move there, and Calgary is definitely not a fit for him right now. And our last point with Calgary, that why not look at a small return from Montreal if you're going to if Montreal's in the selling mood. Andrew Shaw. Cheaper weight, maybe put him in a third, fourth line, something that could get that extra grind time and protect those young guys.
Isn't Shaw's contract like around $4 million though?
It's close.
Yeah, like that's for what? Again, I don't want to go back to the my new coined patented whatever term, but I feel like there's a lot of other players that bring what Andrew Shaw brings to the game for a eighth or a tenth of the cost of Andrew Shaw. He doesn't bring enough offensively. I mean, I might be wrong. I'm not in the locker room, but to me, he doesn't bring enough offensively. He doesn't seem to bring enough character-wise that he's worth that kind of money in the NHL right now.
No, that's a very good point for sure. But definitely interesting to see what Calgary does. I'm very interested most with Winnipeg. Obviously being interested with Toronto, but Winnipeg, who are not usually active at deadlines or free agency, they just kind of sneak in there. This year, Kevin Cheveldayoff has to do something. Has to do something. I know not defense, but definitely on the offensive end for sure. Now one of our last buyers, and the last team we're going to talk about before we conclude our show in whole general, the Toronto Maple Leafs. I've been sitting here, sitting at Sports Center previously. I've sat at the Wicked Sister for the past 8 months saying what Toronto needs. You and I have had numerous topics about this on the show. And not sacrificing the future for sure. And building from within, and yes, 100%. But the Leafs, and we're going to get to this in a second, have blown leads in the third period, lost leads, defensive lapses, and offensively is not a problem with this team. I like what they have offensively. Great addition with Marleau. If they can get another veteran up there forward to provide what Dominic Moore could have provided and not let Gauthier jump in, sure, but defense is where they need the help.
I mean, we can't start a fifth line, so I don't know what another offensive forward brings. I mean, we're talking about these guys we have in the minors that aren't playing.
Kapanen and Shoshnikov.
Like, they're there for a reason. I mean, Soshnikov's only on a conditioning stint. He's actually on the big club. He's just injured. I would like to see Kapanen get up, but we probably won't until next year once...
More playoff time again.
I think Kadri not scoring in, 18 games is a little alarming to me. But Kadri also hasn't had a lot of opportunity to play Kadri's game. I mean, when he gets to be bumping elbows with people, doing the nitty-gritty on the boards, being a pain in the ass, that's Kadri's game. He hasn't been able to do that. He's had to be a responsible center. And, I mean, he's okay at doing that, but not being able to play his game kind of takes away from his ability to score goals, obviously.
For sure. And the big thing is the offense, good point. Like, if they add a veteran guy for next to nothing, whatever. But the big thing's defense. Defense. Offenses need to be touched. Kapanen was great last year. The playoffs, Shoshnikov's a good fit. He's definitely going to be subbing in when possibly some veterans after this year leave. Defense. Defense. One more time. Defense. Defense. Jake Gardiner is not fine. I'm sorry. I got to say, Jake Gardiner needs somebody back there. That guy cannot get the job done for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He does good in the playoffs, but he needs a defensive defenseman with him. And Zaitsev is a good D partner, don't get me wrong, but I want a Gabranson. I want an Ian Cole. I want either both Ian Cole and Gabranson. I want Johnson, Gabranson, and Cole, all three of them in there, and get rid of anybody else. I don't know. I would pay for Gabranson. I think I heard a rumor. Not heard. Sorry, I shouldn't say heard. I've been told rumors from the sources in the organization and read that the Leafs have offered Andrew Nilsson a second rounder and a third rounder for Gabranson. Now, apparently Vancouver wants that a little bit too old. You could throw in someone else in there, like a Roman Polak who sits in and out of the lineup just to get rid of something, or throw another late pick because we do have a good amount of them. Get Gabranson. The guy's a former third overall pick. He's a beast. He'd play on that fourth pairing. You know exactly who he'd play with? He would look very pretty with Jake Gardiner. And put Zaitsev with Morgan Riley, not Hainsey. I'm sorry. I'm not doubting Mike Babcock's coaching at all. This is not what I'm doing here. Hainsey is a third pairing D who could play with the likes of a Connor Carrick. Could play with the likes of someone who we really like is Andreas Borgman. There's a guy you got to keep in the three. So Hainsey and Borgman together, Riley, Zaitsev, and then you put Gardner with Gabranson. Perfect. You move Carrick and you move Polak, and Travis Dermott slides in as your up and down defense with the Marlies and with the Leafs right now as well. Polak would fetch a decent amount. Maybe you can even keep him as a seventh defenseman if you want, sure. And Dermott, keep him in the minors the rest of the year. I'm fine with that. But you can move Carrick. He's a good trade piece. A lot of teams are interested. You can move it that way. But getting Borgman with Hainsey, great third pairing. Gardner with Gabranson, Riley, Zaitsev, I'm on board with that. That is an increase. Then you don't have to worry about Ian Cole, but you get the likes of a Gabranson. You trade whatever you can to get him, who actually has a cap-friendly hit, only north of $4 million for the next couple of years, which is very serviceable. And when you move Carrick, who's getting almost a couple $1 million, essentially almost, and Polak, who's getting 1.5, you move out those contracts, that subs in for it. Gardner can be as offensive as he wants. He can have a defensive guy who can watch his back for him, and that would be the perfect fit. Not Mike Green. That's not who Toronto needs. Ian Cole is on the fence. That's your consolation prize to Gabranson. Jack Johnson's your consolation prize to both Gabranson and maybe even Cole because of his contract. Not because of his talent, because of his contract. So with that, defense is needed. Toronto, get on bringing in a defenseman, and I think you'll see your problem solved where you're absolutely blowing leads in the third period or can't hold a lead or can't win in overtime. That defensive defenseman would be a big help, don't you think?
I mean, these leads, like, just blowing this stuff in the third period, it's getting really frustrating. I've watched every game, and I I end up watching every game, and I still have like positive stuff to pull out of how every player played. But part of me wants to win the Stanley Cup this year, and part of me wants to have quality hockey players. It's a real tough line to,
It is, and losing tonight to the Philadelphia Flyers in overtime after having a 2-0 lead is definitely a tough one to swallow. And Couturier, once again, being a little Leafs killer that he likes to be, he could be not like an Ovechkin when it comes to Leaf killers, but definitely does very well against Toronto from what I see, being effective on both ends of the ice. Toronto, after having that off week, has shown that they haven't got a win yet. They definitely got to have a big win, though, coming up next. They play Saturday night. And who do they play Saturday night? Well, the Ottawa Senators, a lonely Senators team that is on the ground. And I don't like saying kick them when they're down, but kick them when they're down. We got to get back to those winning ways, and very important to get back to those winning ways. And tonight against Philly, we got to give a shout out to Eric Lindros. Number 88 was retired by the Flyers, the Maple Leafs in town, and that is where actually Eric Lindros ended. Nope. Sorry, I stand corrected. He ended his career with the Dallas Stars, but that's where he spent a little bit of his career for a year or some with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Saw that big number 88, and he's also somebody who actually didn't come join the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, but that's a whole nother topic. Congratulations to Lindros. I know your most feared player you've ever played against of all time is definitely Scott Stevens. I wonder if he was at the retirement ceremony. What do you think he was there? You don't think Scott Stevens was there?
No, maybe watching from home.
Definitely that's funny for sure. So Justin, we've talked about the Leafs. We talked about the NHL trade deadline, little hints from our end on the Canadian who's going to buy. Toronto definitely being a team who's buying defense. Vancouver selling, Montreal selling, Ottawa selling, Edmonton selling, Winnipeg, Calgary being buyers, more so Winnipeg we expect to buy. Toronto not blowing any more of those leads has to happen, and what better way to do it than maybe have a solid D to be able to shut down the door out there for the final minutes. And in those final couple minutes, imagine Gabranson out there with Ron Hainsey. I can just love that. I think that is a perfect fit. They wouldn't be a pairing, but they'd be a good shutdown pairing on the PK. So, Justin, this has been the Game Sports Show, Thursday, January 18th edition. Do you have any comments to add?
I don't know. It's another week in the books. Looking forward to some Leafs hockey, some Greyhounds hockey, and some playoff football this weekend.
Big games this weekend in football. Now, you listeners are probably going to ask why we're not doing the multiple choice segment. We don't do the multiple choice segment unless we have 3 active panelists, and mostly when we do, but we, instead of having 2 people just do the multiple choice quiz, it makes more sense to have 3 plus do that. So we're skipping the multiple choice segment here today, which is fine. You'll have to take a week off when it comes to that. But, reminder, the trivia question that is currently out there right now. The trivia question being, there's 10 jerseys in the Boston Pizza bar. Name 4 of those jerseys, and Boston Pizza will send a large pizza to you free of delivery. Just maybe tip the driver, would you? And, hey, if you get the answer, know the answer, you know where to send it. I said earlier in the part here, on my email, Facebook, or Twitter handle. You can definitely get a hold of that later on as the show website gets developed and completed. We'll have it on there. Monday Live will be at the Wicked Sisters, Scott Nason. I plan to be there hopefully this week. Might have some conflict in my schedules, but Monday Live 6 p.m. on Eagle 95.1, 6 to 7. That will be live or pre-recorded for the second hour. And we'll also be at Sports Center next Wednesday talking in the pocket for the Super Bowl preview. And then next week, obviously, every Thursday, we're going to be live here at Boston Pizza, and we plan to have some very special guests join us next week. And make sure you stay tuned for the update in regards to that next week on the Game Sports Show. Justin, thanks for coming by, my friend.
No problem, sir.
I want to give a shout-out to Scott Nason, the notorious Nason, for his board operating skills. I want to thank Mitch Wilson, the great waiter, bartender ever. Aaron Grisdak, happy birthday to Aaron Grisdak, the GM of Boston Pizza. Got a little party going on here. And don't forget, we have a Super Bowl party planned here at Boston Pizza. And so that's in February. We have live entertainment. Lots of great stuff going on with Boston Pizza as well. And Justin, with going 10 minutes over our due time, that is our cue to wrap it on up. And we all hope you enjoyed the show tonight. And we'll be back next week here at Boston Pizza. You all have a good night.